everyone, this is a Crimson Comic and got another overview video for you today. Thought I'd pull a couple more books off my shelf and give you guys a little bit of a closer look. Like I said, I tried in my previous overview video, I want to try to pull some that either I haven't seen very much of in other videos on YouTube that I've watched, or that just mean a lot to me in general. Today's books are definitely a character that I really enjoy, and one of my favorites. And so, without further ado, give you a little sneak peek. So I got Golden Age Flash Archives Volume 1 and Volume 2 of the Archives. So these are the only two Golden Age Flash Archive editions, and to my best of my knowledge, they have not released these in any other collected edition. I know they started releasing, well, they have the Chronicles editions for Superman and Batman. I know that I believe goes back to their Golden Age, and then with the Flash, they just started with Barry during the Silver Age, and then with their DC's newer collected editions that they've been doing after the Chronicles series, they haven't done any Golden Age Flash yet. So they started with Barry Allen in Silver Age, but they haven't done any Golden Age Flash. And I know they've done Superman and Batman Golden Age, so hopefully at some point they'll continue this, and then we'll be able to get more issues of the Flash from the Golden Age, because that'd be great. But anyways, let's dive into the first volume here. This one, Volume 1, is hard to find now. These archive editions are pretty old, and I'll show you the spine as best I can here. Nothing too fancy. It also has Volume 1, and then here's the back. It's got some comic covers here, which I gotta say, I love these comic covers. I mean, they're so fun to look at and whatnot, but they definitely don't have the same flash and flare as some of the current age covers have, but they're definitely unique in their own right. So anyways, let's get this slip cover off, and I'll show you the front and back. So the back here just has embossed the DC Archive Editions logo, and then on the front it's got Jay Garrick's iconic helmet that he wears, which I love. I love Jay Garrick's outfit. I always have. I don't know why, it's always stood out to me. But with the helmet and the bolt on his chest that kind of comes up from his waist, I love it. It's great. But yeah, so this is like a bluish leather, faux leather book cover. It's got a nice silver spine. Just says Golden Age Flash Archives Volume 1, DC Comics. So real classy looking books. I mean, I think these are really good editions. These are the only archive editions I have, but man, I think they look real great. So anyways, we'll get right into her here. So yeah, these are from the 40s. I mean, this collects from the beginning, so Flash Comics #1. And the writer on these is Gardner Fox. He helped create the character, and we got some different cover artists, but the main artist on the actual issues is E.E. Hibbard, and then there's a couple other people, Harry Lampert, and one other guy here. Yeah, Hal Sharp. He was another artist on the Flash books at the time. So yeah, and these books had a few other characters. Johnny's, let's see, before I get ahead of myself, Johnny Thunder and Hawkman, the Whip, Cliff Cornwall. So some of these characters I haven't heard anything about the Whip or Cliff Cornwall, so I haven't imagined they've lasted very much longer after this. But getting a little bit ahead of myself, so let's jump back here. Yeah, this first volume is a little harder to find nowadays. I mean, it's been out of print for a while. These were printed in, let's see, the 90s. These were printed. So yeah, this volume's a little hard to find unless you want to pay a pretty penny. Fortunately, I found a good deal on this volume. It's got a really nice foreword. Worth the read. It's not too long. Goes into some information. Mark Waid wrote this one. But yeah. And then we get right into it. Flash #1, January. So yeah. Like I said, I love these covers, and it's like you got a classic scene here with the Flash catching a bullet. You know, he can run so fast that he can keep up with a bullet and catch it even. But yeah, costume's interesting. His lightning bolt at the beginning didn't come from his waist like it does in later renditions of him. So this is it right here. It's the first appearance of Jay Garrick as the Flash. You got his love interest Joan here, and kind of like the Barry Allen's Iris West, if you will. But yeah, and it's funny because he gets his powers in a way that seems very simple nowadays. Even compared to Barry Allen the Flash, this is like nothing. He inhaled some hard water fumes, which by today's standards it would be kind of a lame way of getting your powers. But yeah, that's what he does here. He's all night on the ground in a lab inhaling these fumes that he accidentally knocked over glass, and that's how they were released. But yeah. So the printing on these is really good, the reprint. The colors are vibrant. The pages are nice and glossy and pretty decent thickness, good stock. Yeah, I really enjoy the colors. I think they really pop. They really did a good job with the reprinting and with the colors and whatnot. I know in some reprintings and collected editions, there'll be pages where it's like there's faded colors and things don't really look right, and like things didn't print well or reprint well. But these are really good reprints. The one thing that's interesting about these comics from back in the 40s is that his costume isn't very consistent throughout. Sometimes there'll be we'll probably stumble upon one, but there'll be frames where right here, there's no bolt on his chest. In both those frames, you'd be able to see the bolt. His hand's not covering the whole thing. And another thing is the bolt on his pant leg. There will be scenes where it's like right down here. It's there here, not there here. So it's just kind of interesting. I don't know, if the time crunch or what could cause that they would be rushing through these things, maybe not getting every detail down. I mean, you can tell just again from today's standards, the detail isn't there like a lot of comics are drawn today. But I think that's part of the charm though of these old comics. I don't go reading everything that's super old, just because sometimes it doesn't appeal to me as much. They can be kind of hard to read. The writing is of its time, so things can get wrapped up quickly without a lot of explanation. There's often, they can be very wordy because it's like telling you exactly what you see. But for me, I really enjoy going back and finding the roots of characters that I love, and the Flash, as you see back here, being one of my favorite characters. My favorite character. I really wanted to go back and read some of these Golden Age stories of where Jay Garrick started started it all. And it's really fun. It's really interesting. I don't tend to sit down and plow through a bunch of them because like I said, they can be a little harder to get through. But just every once in a while, picking up and reading a Golden Age story is fun. Just learning about the characters and where they came from and the silly things that started them off, like inhaling hard water fumes and whatnot. Super silly, but the one thing I do love about these is the covers. I think, like I said before, I love the covers on these. They're so, I don't know, they got a charm to them. It just comes from the Golden Age of comics. A lot of the things Flash is dealing with in these issues are like gangsters, mobsters kind of thing. Some rough and tough guys and whatnot. But anytime you see this little swirly bit on the page, that means he's being invisible. He often says, well, if I just rock back and forth very fast, no one will be able to see me. And so that's how they draw it, is with that. But let's see, we got our cover here. Yeah, I mean, I love this stuff. I love the title and just how it plays out, and I think so much of it too. I just love Jay Garrick's costume and him. This is such a great drawing with the shadow and everything, and the wings, and his costume is great. Some people may say it looks dated, but meh, I don't care. I like it. It's good stuff. He gets up to some shenanigans. I think he boxes in this issue, or deals with boxing and giant lizards and whatnot. So a lot of silly stuff. Here's another cover. This one features Hawkman, which was also in Flash Comics at the time. None of those issues are in here, obviously. This just covers the Flash's portions of Flash Comics. But great covers nonetheless. So yeah, he deals with a lot of stuff, and it's funny because Jay, unlike Barry, who keeps his costume with him now in his ring, Jay actually keeps his at home. So whenever he has to go out as the Flash, he essentially has to run all the way home, get his costume, and then run all the way back, which, being the Flash, it's not as big of a deal because he can get there very fast, but I just think that's funny. That he doesn't conceal it in some other way, like Superman would wear it underneath. Barry Allen keeps it in a ring. But one of the funniest things in this is the last issue, which I'll jump to here, of Flash Comics, which this is number 17. It's actually got the Flash playing baseball. Some guy sees Jay Garrick playing baseball by himself, and he's astonished and is like, I gotta get you on our team. So essentially this story is about him playing baseball. And then there's some shenanigans, people don't like it, whatever. Obviously some bad things going on, and Jay Garrick tries to stop it. One thing too I was reminded of in these other scenes here was, you see Jay with brown hair. Well, it's not always the case. Sometimes he would have, like in the beginning, he has this black hair, or that I'm assuming is just highlighted with blue, but just one of those things that I think is interesting. That's not another one of those inconsistencies that happens throughout the comics. I just think it's an interesting to note. But anyways, so yeah, so this is the first volume here. And there's not really any extras in the back or anything. I mean, you just get a little bit of information about the writer and artists and whatnot. But that's about it as far as that goes. So nothing too crazy, which is fine. It's a good collection nonetheless. So there's volume 1. And next up, we have volume 2. Okay. Volume 2 is a lot easier to find. You can pretty much find it for about half of what the cover price is. I think cover price is $49.99 US dollars. And the same thing goes for the previous volume, but that one is significantly more than cover price now. But this one I found for $25, so I was like, that's not bad at all for a hardcover archive edition that's that old. And I'm thinking, I didn't look this up, I should have, but I think the volume 2 actually may have gotten a second printing, because I have seen volume 2 with a different dust jacket art. So it pretty much has him but carrying a little girl with him. And so yeah, it's pretty much the same art and whatnot. So you have Golden Age Flash, volume 2, and then covers, which you saw earlier on the back. Again, some great stuff here too. So it's pretty much the same kind of stuff. Then we'll take this cover off. This version is black, unlike the blue of the previous volume, but it still retained Jay Garrick's iconic helmet, which I think looks great on the cover. Simple, classy. And then Golden Age Flash Archives, volume 2, and then just their logo again on the back there. So pretty much the same thing as that goes. But so yeah, we'll jump on into this. This is, if they did do a second printing and didn't just change the slip cover or the dust jacket for some reason, this is a first printing of the volume 2. So but I don't know. So yeah, so this is more 40s Flash comics. You still got some of the similar artists and writers on it. I mean, it's only a year later, so not surprising. E.E. Hibbard and Hal Sharp, he was doing some of that stuff before too. It's interesting because they note down here there's asterisks by some of these issue titles, and it says these stories were originally untitled and are titled here for reader reference. So I think that's interesting that they kind of went back and titled these just so people know later on in these collected editions and whatnot what they're talking about. So yeah, so this picks up, the last one ended with Flash issue 17. This picks up with 18 and goes all the way down, and we finally get our first All Flash Comics #1, right? So that they called it All Flash Comics because Flash Comics was already taken. So that issue contains only stories featuring the Flash. Unlike the other ones that had things from Johnny Thunder and Hawkman and the like. So that I think there's two of those in here. So we have All Flash Comics #1, and then yes, All Flash Comics #2, and then we end with Flash Comics #24. So again, this one has a forward like the previous version. Got your jolly little Jolly J up there. Just kind of giving you some information about the Flash at the time and DC Comics and whatnot and the writers. So this one was written by Jim Amish. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's a good read. I read those. But yeah, and so now we're getting into the more iconic Flash symbol on the front where it's coming from his waist. But yeah, great covers still. This is number 18. Let's see who drew this cover. Hal Sharp. So yeah, great. I love the shadowing on this and the lighting. It really looks great. There's Flash throwing a bad guy at him. So yeah, this volume, I actually got this volume first, and so I read it before volume 1 because I thought I'm never gonna get that, but because it's so expensive. But then I found a good deal on it, so I picked it up. But it still deals with a lot of like gangster, mobster kind of guys, rough and tough, guys with guns and whatnot. So you still kind of get some of the same feel that the previous volume had. In this book though, definitely have more consistency with his costume. In the previous volume, they were some frames would be missing the lightning bolts on his side, some would be missing the lightning bolt on his chest. The hair would be different colors depending on the issue. So this you start seeing a better consistency. That could be because his costume's a little less detailed. You know, he's only got the one bolt on his chest. Nothing on the sides of his legs and whatnot, so that could be part of it too. But it's always fun to see how he deals with the bad guys he's fighting. Where it's like this one, he puts them in a turnstile kind of door and just whips them around real quick. He'll often spin his enemies to make them dizzy, whatnot. But there's this issue cracked me up. You have him, the Flash, throwing these guys to stick to the poles, which I always thought was funny. But yeah, it's just so interesting in these Golden Age comics to see how the superhero would deal with the villain. I mean, the stories aren't very deep. They don't go much deeper than Flash is a good guy. There are bad people like mobsters and tricksters and people trying to abuse power and whatnot, and so now the Flash has to stop them. Doesn't really go too much deeper than that in these early issues, but it is what it is. They're still a good story, still fun. Some interesting paneling choices too, just how they have these like circles and just like heads with no frame. It keeps things interesting as far as paneling goes, so I appreciate that. Definitely put some effort into it to shake things up a little bit. I do like these things like this where it's like you see this, you know, they use all these lines and air movement to kind of denote the speed, and inside of it you can just make out the like man's frame there. I think that's fun. Sports were a big part of the Flash. He played football in college, and in the first issue in Volume 1 you can actually see him playing. There's a baseball issue then. You got hockey now. So there's quite a few different sports taking place in these issues with the Flash, different things. Him causing all kinds of trouble. Nah, but he's there to save and help. But yeah, it's just it's fun to go back and look through these too, even just seeing how things were drawn, and the colors really pop off the page. I mean, I don't know how well the video picks it up, but I mean the colors are so vibrant in these old issues, in this printing too. But here's a great cover: him sword fighting with kind of like Chinese guys here. Really good like splash pages too, with just the title and the little description and whatnot. Gardner Fox really, I think, in this second year started digging a little deeper into like more unique stories, I'll say, where it's not just him fighting a mob, but like this one takes place, I think, in Chinatown of their city, and this one's actually a really good story. It's really interesting, some of the twists and turns and whatnot. But yeah, it's a good one. Flash does this a lot, where he'll throw somebody into something like this, and you can see there's 3 guys down here, and he always describes it as a tornado. How tornado can make a piece of straw fly so fast through the air that it can stick through a piece of wood without the straw breaking. And they use that thought and theory of the Flash throwing people through things. So he could throw people through like walls and like have them bash into walls and doors and statues and whatnot. That it moves so fast that it actually doesn't harm the person. It's just trapping them inside of the thing, which I always thought was really funny. But gotta love the simple explanations back then. Another Hawkman cover on the Flash comics. You know what? Let me I think I missed the All Flash issue cover. Let me find that real quick. Let's see. Page 49. Let's pull that back here. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, this is the first issue of All Flash. So, looks like it comes out quarterly. And yeah, so it's a complete 64-page issue containing all new, never-before-published episodes of The Flash, Fastest Man Alive. So this one would just contain Flash stories. 10 cents. I mean, man, if comics are only 10 cents still. But, yeah, so great cover of him just running by saying, hey. And it looks like the same model. Almost. And here's this is an interesting little page. I'll point this out real quick. This is like an honor to the Flash. So it says, the Just Society of America is hereby resolved to and hereby does honor to one of its members, the Flash, and does hereby bid him Godspeed. And since he has been made an honorary member like Superman and Batman, may he prosper long and continue to be the fastest man alive in his struggle against crime and corruption. And it's signed the Green Lantern, who is the chairman of the Justice Society. And it's got everybody else's signatures here and the honorary members. So pretty much it was him leaving the Justice Society, essentially, but he's still an honorary member. And apparently Batman and Superman had previously done that. But, yeah, I don't know. I think that was just an interesting little addition to the All Flash comic there, so... Yeah, so, you know, the art is very similar. I think it gets a little better throughout this. The paneling definitely becomes more unique, as you can see. The biggest thing is just the wordiness, the over-explanation. That can be the biggest thing, the biggest hill to getting through some of this stuff, is that it doesn't always let the art do the talking. You know, you might see the Flash doing something in a piece of in one of the frames, but then it'll say exactly what's happening, or one of the Flash's thought bubbles or speech bubbles will be him just saying what he's doing. So that can be a little hard to get through at times, but you know, these stories are just charming. They're, you know, as long as you go into them knowing they're of their time. They're not going to be written like the comics today, even drawn like the comics today, but they definitely have a charm to them. And if you really like the character, you know, that's where, if you're going to read Golden Age stories, I would suggest seeing like, okay, if you really like Batman, read Batman Golden Age stories. If you really like Superman, read Superman Golden Age stories. Or just, you know, I'm sure there are places online where you can go and see some of the best of the Golden Age and what they have to offer. But yeah, I would say if you really like a character and you just want to know more about their roots and where they came from, granted, with all the crisis events and whatnot that DC does, those things may not really hold much weight anymore. But nonetheless, it's fun to see where things came from, and the history behind some of the characters and whatnot. And Jay Garrick definitely is one of my faves. Is kind of like a mentor to Barry in the Flash. So that's why I kind of just went back and wanted to read more about him and read some of his stuff. So I'm hoping they do collect more issues of his Golden Age stuff and reprint them again, because it's unfortunate that the only place his comics are collected are in these 2 archive editions, and they're out of print. So that really stinks. So hopefully, though, we'll get to see those in the near future, since they've begun to re-release some of the Batman and Superman Golden Age stuff. But we'll see. So yeah, as you can see, they really start liking these circle panels. Here's a great cover too, just different scenes standing out. It doesn't even have the flat. Well, this I guess is more of a splash page, not the cover. This is chapter 4, but some really great splash pages too in this. Like this one and the Spider-Man. Maybe that's where Stan Lee got his influence. Nah, I'm just kidding. Probably not. Yeah, so like this is him on another planet, which I thought was cool, because then it starts getting more into that sci-fi action that I love so much about superheroes. But yeah, so that was a good issue too, with him in space on another planet, Mars. But yeah, so there you go. It ends again. It just kind of gives you a little brief overview of the contributors, writers, and artists and whatnot. But yeah, so nothing in the form of extras in the back, whatnot. There weren't like crazy amounts of variant covers like there are today, so don't have that for the back. But yeah, so there's volume 2 of the Flash's archive editions, Golden Age Flash, Jay Garrick, who was the fastest man alive before Barry Allen. So anyways, bring back. So we got next one another classy looking books. I gotta say, I love the minimalist covers that they went with here. But yeah, so we got volume 1 and volume 2. If you've liked what you've seen, please give me a subscribe, so you can, be aware and know when I release new videos and whatnot. Give me a like, give the video a like, thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comments, some of the Golden Age stuff you saw here, and if there are any Golden Age characters that you like, or anything like that. But yeah, let me know what you think, and I'd love to keep the conversation going. So, but with that, I'll bid you adieu, and hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.